There is a room beneath Rome that tourists walk past without stopping. It sits wedged into the northeastern slope of the Capitoline Hill, its stone face worn gray by 2,000 years of weather and indifference. Inside, if you descend into the lower chamber, you will find walls that sweat moisture year-round and a floor that smells of something ancient and faintly wrong. There is a hole in the ceiling. That hole is where they dropped people in, not to torture them, not as punishment, simply as the final administrative step. You had been processed. You had served your purpose. And now, Rome was finished with you. The hole was just how the system closed its files. What no guidebook will tell you, what mainstream history has spent centuries quietly smoothing over, is what came before that moment, especially for the women, especially for the queens. Right now, people from every corner of this planet are searching for the real story of what Rome did to conquered rulers. Wherever you are watching from, drop your location below. The global curiosity for this dark history genuinely astonishes me, because what Rome built was not just a military empire, it was a machine. A cold, legally codified, procedurally enforced machine for the destruction of human dignity. It ran with precision that should terrify you far more than random cruelty. Random cruelty is passion. What Rome practiced was policy. There is a difference between a man who loses his temper and breaks something, and a man who schedules the breaking in advance, logs it in a ledger, and assigns it a budget line. Rome was always the second man. The legal foundation was called ius gentium, the law of nations. In practice, for anyone captured in war, it meant one thing: you are no longer a person. The moment a city fell, its inhabitants ceased to exist as legal entities. They became property, not metaphorically. Literally, under Roman statute, military captives were classified as things, objects to be distributed, displayed, or destroyed at the captor's discretion. A queen who had ruled millions became, upon defeat, legally indistinguishable from a seized cart of grain. Her crown meant nothing once Roman hands were on her wrists. This matters because everything that followed was not chaos. Every humiliation inflicted upon captured queens, every chain fitted, every procession staged, every violation ordered, happened within a framework. It was reviewed, approved, often specifically requested. The men who designed these procedures wrote them down. The historians who recorded these events were not sensationalizing. They were filing reports. The Roman triumph was not simply a parade. It was a state-sanctioned psychological operation with strict, bureaucratically enforced rules. A general applied to the Senate. The order of participants was prescribed. Captured rulers walked at the front of the prisoner column. A deliberate compositional choice ensuring the crowd's first sight was the defeated face that had once appeared on coins. For female captives of royal rank, their garments were often left intact, not as kindness, as deliberate contrast. A queen in full regalia, jewels at her throat, and chains on her wrists. Rome was saying something to every watching eye. Look at what she had. Look at what she is now. Understand that the distance between those two things is us. Queen Zenobia of Palmyra had commanded an empire stretching from Egypt to Anatolia. She had issued her own coinage, styled herself Augusta, and corresponded with emperors as an equal. When Aurelian caught her retreating east in 272 CE, Rome gained the perfect symbol for its next triumph. In the procession of 274 CE, Zenobia was adorned with every jewel she had possessed as queen. Each gem translated her former power into a display of conquest. And the chains were gold. Heavy gold chains so massive that attendants marched beside her to help carry their weight. The same metal that had made her coins, funded her armies, and purchased her alliances was now wrapped around her wrists. Rome's cold calculation made her sovereignty the instrument of her bondage. She did not collapse. She did not weep. She walked with her back straight for hours through a foreign city, while the crowd consumed her suffering like a meal. She did not give them what they came to see. Here is what most people fascinated by this era never get told. The procession, the chains, the legal architecture are not even the darkest chapter. You are still outside the building. If you have the psychological grit to follow this where it actually leads, stay with me. Because what Rome's machine did to women with no political value, no symbolic use, no function as living trophies, that was something categorically different. Boudica of the Iceni never made it to a triumph. Her husband, King Prasutagus, died in 60 CE, leaving a careful will. Half his lands to his daughters, half to Emperor Nero. Rome's response was a single administrative ruling. The will was void. All assets seized. When Boudica presented herself before Roman officials to protest, they had her flogged. In public, in front of her people. Not because a soldier lost control, it was a scheduled signal. And then, because Rome's system did not operate in half measures, her daughters were assaulted by Roman soldiers. Tacitus names it directly. These were girls, likely teenagers. The assault was not incidental to the message. It was the message. Every Iceni witness was meant to walk away knowing exactly what resistance cost. Procurator Cottus reviewed the data. The data supported a certain course of action. The data was wrong. Boudica raised an army that destroyed 3 Roman cities, including Londinium, killing tens of thousands. The rebellion ended in defeat. Boudica, according to Tacitus, took poison rather than face what the machine would do next. She had watched what it did to her daughters. She chose the poison. The daughters are not mentioned again. They vanish from the historical record at Rome's victory, absorbed into a silence that is itself evidence. When Roman historians stopped writing about someone, it was because what followed was too routine to record. The system had a procedure for people like them. It simply did not require documentation. That is the most chilling sentence in this entire story. Not the chains, not the flogging, the silence. The cold bureaucratic silence of a machine that processed human beings so efficiently that their suffering did not merit a footnote. The Mamertine prison still stands. The hole in the ceiling is still there. The stone walls still hold the cold of 2,000 years, not as a warning, simply as a structure that outlasted everyone it consumed. If this history unsettles you the way it should, hit subscribe right now. Tap the like button so this channel can keep bringing you the version of the past that does not get sanitized for school textbooks. Share this with someone who still believes Roman history is mostly philosophy and architecture. It is also this. It has always been this. The only honest way to reckon with what empires build is to refuse to look away from what they cost.